Hello and welcome to History Bubble. Today we'll be talking about Angola, a nation of the west coast of Africa, bordering Namibia, Zambia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and also the Republic of Congo, but only by an exclave. The first large nation-like state to take control of parts of what we now know as Angola was done by the Congo Kingdom in the 15th century. Also later in the 15th century, the Portuguese found the kingdom that had been secluded from the rest of the non-tribal world. At first, the Portuguese started trading with the Kingdom of Congo, mostly slaves. They also tried to convert locals into Christianity, was a mostly successful mission, and in the 1500s, Congo's state religion became Christianity. The Portuguese soon started to create settlements and trading posts in the area, such as Luanda and Benguela. Luanda grew fast and soon gained the title of a city and became the capital of Portuguese Angola. They also captured many of the kingdom and tribes in the area. By the 17th century, this included Congo tributary states, like the Kingdom of Ndongo, which led to a Congo-Portuguese War. At first, Portugal had won decisively and defeated the Kingdom of Ndongo, but when a full Congolese army came, they defeated the Portuguese and drove them out of their kingdom. With a bit of help from their Dutch allies, Ndongo was also re-established under a woman named Nzinga, but she was soon defeated and escaped to a neighboring kingdom, Mataba, and became the ruler there. But in the 1640s, Portugal fought a war against Spain and another against the Dutch. During these wars, the Dutch captured Luanda and the rest of Portuguese Angola. They also renewed the alliance with the Kingdom of Congo at that time. Nzinga also signed an alliance with the Dutch to fight the Portuguese. The colony though was later captured by Portugal, and about 10 years later the Dutch were on the offensive again, calling in their allies in Congo and Nzinga of Matamba and Ndongo. The Dutch alliance won a major victory at Combe, forcing the Portuguese back, but they soon got reinforcement from Brazil and won several victories, ending the war, leading to the occupation of Ndongo and a Portuguese victory. But later the Kingdom of Congo fell into a 40 years civil war, and during this time the Portuguese made a failed attempt to invade the country. During the 1600s, Angola also started to trade much more with the Portuguese colony of Brazil. Portugal now started to take more territory in the south, where no powerful kingdom like Congo would stop them, even though there was fierce resistance for occupation by the local tribes. They also expanded inwards and tried to ruin the Congo's trade, so powerful European nations would trade with Portuguese Angola instead of the closer Congo. They conquered most tribes, but they also encountered the Lunda Empire and started diplomacy with them, switching embassies. In the 1850s, Portugal helped a man named Pedro of the throne of Congo, and thus made Congo their vassal. By the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century, Portugal started to colonize more of inland Angola, as they wanted to get more land as the scramble for Africa had started. They had a slim control of inland Angola before by having local tribes pledge fealty to them, but this was mostly in name, and now they took all of what we now know as Angola. By the beginning of the 20th century, the slave trade was still going on in Angola, longer than it had for most colonies that had been a part of the slave trade. This was even though the Portuguese government had abolished it in the mid-1800s. Even though slavery had been abolished in the mid-1800s, they had introduced forced labor into Angola, which, when you think about it, it's not that much better than slavery, but at least a bit. In the First World War, Portugal fought the Germans in a minor offensive in 1914 and 15. For you familiar with the war, may know that they did not officially declare war on Germany until 1916, but there has still been engagement in Angola between the two countries before that, but they were fairly minor. After the war, Portugal also started to build more infrastructure in the colony of Angola. By the 40s and 50s, Angola started to form a small independence movement. To try to counter this, the Portuguese made Angola and the rest of the colonies provinces instead of colonies. But in Angola, rebel groups started to form. Two of the largest groups banded together to form the Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola, or MPLA for short. In 1961, cotton field workers in the Malanye province in northern Angola went on a strike, attacking Portuguese, burning identification cards, and Portugal responded by bombing villages in the area, killing somewhere between 400 all the way up to 7,000 people by some estimates. Later the same year, attack on government building and civilians were committed by both sides in Luanda. The MPLA rebels attacked police stations and prisons, while the Portuguese killed MPLA rebels and random people in the slums. Another rebel group that wanted an independent Congo with the borders of the Kingdom of Congo, called the National Liberation Front of Angola, or FNLA, started attacks in the historical region of Congo under Holden Roberto. They attacked and conquered villages, killing civilians and government workers alike. They are estimated to have massacred around 7,000 people, both locals and Portuguese. As I just talked about, there had been violence at this time, but this was what triggered the war, and now the Angolan War for Independence started. The Portuguese almost drove out all of the rebels in the country, with only a few bases left. But the FLNA regrouped and continued attacking and took back much of what the Portuguese had taken. The FLNA had also captured and killed MPLA soldiers, so the rebel groups were clearly not unified and were fighting against each other too. By now, a year into the war, 20 to 30,000 civilians had been killed, and that's only by the Portuguese. And there have been a lot more killing of civilians by the rebel groups, especially of the FLNA. 500,000 refugees also fled to the neighboring Zaire. Roberto of FNLA started a revolutionary government and allied themselves with Zaire by marrying someone from President Mobutu's family. And of course, as if you have watched any of my other videos, you know that president doesn't mean democratically elected candidate, and is often used to make a country sound more democratic than what it really is. Well, back to the history. The MPLA held a congress to try to figure out what they would do in case of victory, and stated 6 main policies. By the 1963, another rebel group had been founded to fight Portugal in another colony of theirs, Guinea-Bissau. And a year later, another group was founded in Mozambique. A man named Jonas Swaimbe, the foreign managers of the FLNA government, left the FLNA to form a new rebel group called UNITA. Antonio Angosto Neto, the leader of MPLA, started negotiations and got an alliance with many communist countries of the world, and got Cuba, the Soviet Union, and East Germany to join them in the war. UNITA bombed a railway close to Zambia, angering the country's government. Many more attacks were made in the war, with power shifting between the rebels and Portugal. By the mid-70s, Portugal had a clear advantage, but then a coup happened in Portugal, overthrowing the dictator who ruled. The war with the colonies had been very unpopular by the majority of the Portuguese people, and thus the new government ended it, giving the colonies of Portugal their independence. Well, that's all for you I have today. Next time, we'll be talking about the independent Angola.